Hi, and welcome to the third episode of the Azure Database for MySQL monthly webinar series. I'm Shreya Raidal, and co-hosting the series with me is Avnish Rastogi.
Hello,
So,
everyone, and welcome back.
So it's been a couple of months now since we started this series to bring you the latest feature updates and to have a new channel of live interaction with all of you. In the first episode, we introduced MySQL Flexible Server. We talked about all the latest enhancements. And in the previous episode in January, we covered migration strategies to move to Flexible Server. But if you missed any of these episodes, don't worry about it. You can check out the recordings on our YouTube channel. Our handle is at Azure DB MySQL. So for today's episode, what do we have planned, Avnish?
So, Sharia, as usual, we will talk about recent updates and what are some of the upcoming features. But before we do that, I would like to invite a couple of our guest speakers to deep dive onto two new features. First is Business Critical SKU, which is really designed to run your business critical applications with high performance. And second feature we will deep dive is MySQL replication. We'll discuss what are the different types of replication we offer and what are the different use cases for each of these replication type customers can use.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Avnish. But before we get started, folks, there are a few ground rules as always. Let's keep the session as interactive as possible. So let's start with a quick round of introductions, right? Drop a message in the chat window and let us know a little bit about yourself, where you're joining from, and what are you looking forward to most in this session today. For example, I'm Shreya. I'm joining from India, and I'm looking forward to getting a few of my doubts clarified on the replication features. So, what about you folks? Go ahead, drop them in the chat window. And while you do that, one other thing that I do want to call out is if you have any questions or feedback at any point during the session, use the same chat window. Go ahead and post your question there, and we'll address them as we go through the session. And just like last time, we have our product expert and feature lead, Sudesh Narayan Swami, on the chat to address your queries. So, thank you again, Sudesh, for doing this. So, folks, I'm still waiting for your comments. Just let us know where you're from. Just or if you're comfortable just saying a hi, it would be lovely to see you all interacting with us on the chat. So we are streaming today on YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as Twitch. So if any of you want to switch means, do check out our YouTube channel for a common ground. In the interest of time, I'm going to get started. Avnish, over to you for the first section.
Yeah, no, thank you again, Sharia. So I would like to invite Siddharth, who will deep dive into business critical SKU. Siddharth, welcome to the show.
Hi, Avnish. Thank you for inviting me here. Hi, Shreya.
Hi, Siddhant.
Yeah, let's
Do you
get
want to?
started.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. First of all, I'm Siddhant Sawant. I am one of the feature PM for Azure Database for MySQL and MariaDB. In this session, we'll be discussing the importance of Tier 1 workload and how business critical tier is going to help you achieve the best performance out of it. So let's get started. We'll start with the compute tiers or the performance tiers we have to offer. We'll start with the first one, which is the burstable or the basic tier, which this tier is basically for the workloads which does not require the complete CPU cycle or do not require continuous CPU cycles. For example, there is a check-in, check-out application which only needs CPU burst during the business hours. In burstable tier, we have a B series of VM and V cores starting from 1 and ranging up to 12, 16, and 20 as the higher cores in burstable tier. The memory per V core in burstable tier is variable, and the storage size starting from 20 GB right up to 16 TB as well. The maximum IOPS possible in burstable tier is 5,000. In the next tier is the general purpose tier, which is best for most of the business workloads that require balance compute and scalable memory IO throughput. Which, if you have a decent amount of workload, the general purpose is the to-go solution for you. If you have a hosting web app or a mobile application or an enterprise application, general purpose is the best solution for that. The VM series is V4 inside the general purpose, and the V cores are from 2, 4, right up to 32, 48, and 64 as a higher cores available in general purpose. The memory per V core in general purpose is 4 GB, and as the storage size starts from 20 GB right up to 16 TB. The maximum IOPS possible is 20K in the general purpose. But if you're looking at high performance tier 1 workload, the solution for you is business critical tier. Best for high performance tier 1 workload that requires in-memory performance and low disk latency for faster transaction and faster transaction processing and higher concurrency. Where the application examples for it is like if you require if you have complex queries, if you need processing real-time data or any analytical apps, business critical tier is the solution for you. We have E series, V4, and we recently added V5 series inside the business critical queue. And the V core starts from 2, 4, right up to 32, 48, 64, 80, and also 96 V core. We also see ourselves having 104 V cores coming soon in a few months as well. The memory per V core is 8 GB for business critical SKU. The storage size starts from 20 GB right up to 16 TB. And in the next coming months, we'll have 32 TB as well. And we'll also aiming at 100 TB in few months. The maximum IOPS possible under business critical SKU is 80,000. So this is just a general overview, and we'll take a closer look at our business critical tier. One of the key benefits of our business critical tier is its ability to handle complex queries. Whether you're working with large data sets or you need to run any complex analytics, our business critical tier is designed to provide best performance and reliability you need to get the job done. It helps you to have low latency. It has auto IO scaling. It has faster failure solution, high concurrency. You can scale your e-commerce, gaming application, internet application at the go. The auto scaling storage and IOPS goes up to 80K as I spoke before. The failure time for your flexible server is 30 to 60 seconds in the business critical service tier. You can take advantage of the MySQL community major and minor version updates available every 6 months. So you will have to, if you like to upgrade your databases, we upgrade every 6 months in the business critical tier. We'll go on to the next slide, where we'll be speaking about the cost effectiveness of the solution we have. This design does not just provide the reliability and security, it is also beneficial for your performance versus the cost. It gives you 1.5x over the single server, improved performance. The throughput and latency testing which we did internally is the OLTP workload, where we tested 70% of the reads and 30% of the writes on the 16-week or SKU. And we saw an 1.5 increase, improved price performance over the single server offering which we have. Although the test was done on a 16-week core, and mind you, this is an internal benchmark testing which we did. Also, moving on to the next slide, we also talk about the other database available in the market, but improved performance is available in flexible server by 30 to 50% compared to the other database as a service available in the market. The throughput and the latency testings are the same, which I discussed earlier, will be where we did 70% reads and 30% writes on a 16-week or SKU on an other products in the market, where we see where you can see the latency has consistent for the flexible server business critical SKU, but the latency for other services available out in the market has increased as we increase the throughput. Mind you, this testing was done internally and done on a 16-week core machine. Moving on to the next slide, which is the auto scale IOPS feature, which I like, which is this is one of the important feature. Why? Because it helps you to save cost and give best performance. Why you ask? So the thing is, you only pay for the IO you use. You do not have to worry about the IO throttling which you face when you have bursts of queries coming into your server and your storage is throttling for performance. In this, you have an auto scale IOPS feature which can scale up to 80K and give you the best solution or the best processing power for your solution for your queries in that particular workload. So you can achieve consistent performance which with additional IO, and you only pay for what you use. You don't have to worry about the administration of your storage being throttled or the IO being throttled, and you can get the best performance at very least cost. So I'll go on to have a demo quickly in the next few minutes. Moving up to the next slide. We have a demo here where this is the creation of your MySQL flexible server, where I've created the subscriptions and my resource group. Under my resource group, you can see my demo server. I've selected the region, my MySQL version, and also I'll select the tier 1 business critical workload which I want. Once you click on configure server, it will take you to the lot of options possible where you can you choose the compute you want with the amount of memory available, and you can go from V4 to V5 as well in this compute size for the business critical service tier. Once you decide on selecting one of the core, you can just simply select the IOPS, which is pre-provisioned IOPS, is by default, but we have auto scale IOPS under preview right now. You can select that and do your review for other options for if you need an HA or if you need any other zone redundancy or geo redundancy, and save. That's it. Once you have done your networking settings, all the user settings, the security and the tags, you are free to create the flexible server under business critical service tier. That starts your deployment. As you can see, it's easy. That's the deployment page. You will see when you start the server creation, you'll be able to see that the deployment is accepted and the server is starting to get created. Voila, done. It's as simple as that. Once your deployment is complete, you go to your resource and you can verify what service, what business, what configuration you have for your server on the home page. There are other ways to, if you have your server already in other service tiers, you can also move to the business critical tier under the compute plus storage blade, where you can, I have this demo server already created. I went to, which was general purpose before. Now I went to the compute storage. I selected the options again, similar as how you create before. It gives you the drop down. I was under pre-provision for this demo server. I moved on to auto scale IOPS. Mind you, this change is dynamic. The IOPS change is dynamic. When you move from pre-provision to auto IOPS, you don't need a service restart. But as I've changed the compute, as I moved from general purpose to business critical SKU, you have to do the restarts. So as I click on continue, the service will undergo a restart, and I'll be moving from my general purpose service tier to business critical service tier, and also from pre-provisioned IOPS to auto scale IOPS. Thank you. I think the demo, that's all from my side. And over to you, Avnish.
Very good. Great information. Are there any questions for Siddhant?
No, none at the moment. Thank you so much, Siddhant, for the detailed introduction, and like the data points, the demos were super helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Avnish. Thank you, Shreya.
Yeah. So on to the next section then. I'd like to invite another guest speaker, Vandana Mehta. Hi, Vandana. How are you doing? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Hi, Shreya and Avnish. First of all, I'm super thrilled to be part of the monthly webinar. I'm equally excited as the audience. As far as my introduction goes, I'm Vandana Mehta. I'm one of the product managers within Azure Database for MySQL and MariaDB. And my primary role is to plan and manage investments towards the business continuity and disaster recovery roadmap for the product.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vandana. And replications, like one of my most favorite functionalities in MySQL, and I'm sure I've said this in multiple occasions before. But for those in the audience who may be unfamiliar with the concepts, can you start off by providing a brief introduction into the MySQL replication feature itself?
Absolutely, would love to do that. Well, one of the fundamental pillars, or I would say the fundamental pillars of business continuity plan for any managed database services, high availability, backup and restore, and replication. And today I'm here in the monthly webinar to basically talk about what Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server offers when it comes to replication. So let's first understand what is replication. Replication enables data from one MySQL database server, which is often known as the primary or the source, to be replicated to one or more MySQL database servers, which is also known as replica or the target server. You can call it anything. So let's start with understanding the replication configuration. Replication in MySQL Flexible Server is based on binary logging mechanism. Here, the primary or the source server is always the dump terminal, and it is a replica which must know the primary host ID, log file name, and the bin log position, or in other words, it should know the binary log coordinates to be able to communicate with the primary and replicate data into it. Now, since we have been talking about binary logging mechanism, one of the primary or the basic unit of file that we constantly refer is the binary log file, also known as the bin log file. And for those of you who are not sure of what it is nothing but a transaction file which keeps a record of all the changes made to the database. Now, in the context of MySQL, binary log is actually used for replication, point-in-time recovery, the backup and restore aspect, and sometimes even for auditing. So that's the overview of replication, or I would say the basics of replication to begin with. Can we move to the next slide? Let's also quickly look at the architecture basics. So the diagram that you see here is a very simple one that most of you would have already seen. So we have the clients who are writing transactions onto the primary, and the transactions get written into the binary log file, which I just explained what it is. Then we have the IO thread connecting to the dump thread, reading all the transactions, and then the IO thread writes those transactions into the relay log. The SQL thread at the replica side reads this relay log and then publishes these changes into the replica. Now, this replication architecture is actually augmented a little more by the Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server in a way that it starts leveraging the power of underlying storage. And we call it storage-based replication in MySQL terms. And it offers many advantages. First and foremost, the replica doesn't have to connect with the primary because the log files are constantly being transferred using the storage. And also in the event of disaster, if we happen to promote replica into a standalone server, then replica can be brought up to date with the last committed transaction on the primary. So that's the benefit of storage-based replication, and that's one of the characteristics of offerings of Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server. Next
Thanks
slide, please.
so much, Vandana. I think that's what we're curious to know, right? What are the options on flexible server?
Great. So again, double clicking, I would like to highlight just the way you mentioned, the Shreya, there is always some confusion around the possible modes of replication or categories of replication offered or supported by the managed service. So in case of Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server, we support three categories of replication broadly. One is read replicas, second is data in replication, and third is the data out replication. Now, all three of them, we would like to talk about it in detail one by one, but broadly, yes, those are the kind of categories of replications that we support.
Awesome. I think that's what we're curious for. There's more details on each of these, and also to understand what use case will we use, what for, what does it really help achieve. So that's, yeah. Go ahead.
Great question, Shreya. I'll cover that as I talk about each replication category. I'll start with the basic unit, which is the read replicas. So read replicas, so in Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server, you can spin up a read replica, which replicates data from the source. So, and this read replica can be managed just like the source server. And some of the characteristics of read replica is that at any point of time, you can spin up to 10 read replicas for a given source server. And replicas are usually, when you provision a replica, it is created with the same configuration as the source. And after provisioning, this configuration can be edited, can be upgraded for the read replica. Read replicas are available only for general purpose and business critical pricing tiers, and the billing for each read replica is separate based on the compute configuration and the storage configured for the read replica. And of course, when you're talking about read replica, we would be keen on understanding the replication lag between the source and the read replica, and even that can be monitored within the Azure portal from the metrics section. Now, coming to the benefits, or I would say the use cases in which you will basically use the read replica, is basically to scale out the read intensive workload so that the source is performance optimized and you use the source only for write workloads. The second one is an augmented DR strategy, because other than configuring high availability, read replicas can also be promoted as a standalone server in case of disaster. So those are the primary use cases. It's fairly simple, but yeah. So in case you want to have your read workloads routed to read replicas, that's one use case. Second is disaster recovery strategy, an alternate one along with the high availability or geo restores that is provided by the managed service.
Awesome.
Can we move on to the next slide? The next category that we have is the data in replication. Data in replication is a mechanism which helps you synchronize data from any MySQL server to Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server. So to simplify the concept, here the source is usually a MySQL, which could be on-premise or on a virtual machine or on any other cloud provider, or possibly just another Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server. And the replica or the target is always the flexible server. Data in replication leverages the binary log file position based replication, which I explained at the beginning of the session. And in the upcoming releases, we will also be supporting GTID based replication, and that I'm very sure we'll cover as in the subsequent sessions. And let's also understand, when would you use data in replication? Yeah, so there are three primary use cases for using data in replication. First and foremost is the migration. So if at all you prefer to have a minimal time migration, and so at that time you can use any of the open source tool like MyDumper or MyLoader, and then you can plan to basically have a selective cutover for the production workload, and this open source tool along with the data in replication can be leveraged to basically have a seamless migration. The second is the hybrid cloud strategy, which basically will help you keep the data synchronized between your on-premise server and Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server. So any hybrid cloud solution actually provides a lot of versatility when it comes to managing your production workload, based on your business need. And data in replication will basically help you achieve that seamlessly. The third one is complex cloud solutions, where you can use data in replication to replicate data between multiple MySQL servers hosted on different cloud providers. This actually also helps you from not having any vendor lock-in. So these are the primary use cases for data in replication. Now, coming to data out replication, as the name suggests, it is it's a mechanism which is exactly opposite of data in replication. Here, the source is always Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server, and the target is any MySQL on premises, on a virtual machine, or could be on any other cloud provider. So basically, you can take the data out from Azure Database from MySQL to an alternate MySQL, which is acting as a target. Now, again, this is also based on binary log file position based replication. Other than that, there's just one thing to note, that here the replication is managed by the customer, and when you're configuring the data out replication, we need to use a replication filter on the replica to be able to filter out Azure specific references. That's a small configuration that will be covered as part of the demo as well. Yeah. All right. Coming to monitoring replication status, now that we have given you a host of varieties and host of, I would say, options to replicate data between different source and targets, we need to basically have a better visibility into replication performance and health. And MySQL has newly exposed replication metrics that will help you exactly with that. So first and foremost is replica running status metrics. So basically, whenever you provision a read replica, you will be able to monitor the performance of your read replica and health of your read replica through three metrics. One is the replication lag, which will help you understand by how many seconds your replica is behind the source server. Second is the replica IO status and replica SQL status, which will basically tell you whether replica is healthy or not, whether it is running or not, and it is represented by the binary number 1 or 0. Other than that, we also have high availability or HA servers, where the standby server pretty much operates on the fundamentals of replication. So if you happen to have a high availability server configured in Azure Database for MySQL, you can also monitor the health of your HA server using HA IO status and HA SQL status as metrics in Azure Database for MySQL text server. Yeah, so this is the visibility that we have towards monitoring these read replicas. All right, time for demo, one of my favorites. So today I'm going to give you a demo on read replicas. So this is the Azure portal where I already have a source server provisioned. Now in the source server, you can navigate to the replication pane. Yes, so you can navigate to the replication pane. When you click on replication, you will see all the replicas that has been provisioned so far. This is the one window to see manage all the replicas. You can click on add replica to provision a new read replica. Now this is the create server page for the read replica. Primary server name represents the source server name. In the server name field, you can provide the name of the read replica. Now in the location field, you'll have two choices. One is you can provision the read replica in the same region as the source server region, or you can choose a geopair region. For now, I'm going to select the geopair region. Yeah. And you hit review and create to run the basic validation. If all the validation is in place and you hit create, it is going to provision the read replica. Now, in the interest of time, I've already provisioned the read replica for everyone's reference. So we'll look at that. So REPL1 is one of the read replicas provisioned. And one of the key highlights of read replica is that you can click on promote, and it will basically help you promote a read replica to a standalone server. So when you click on promote, it breaks the replication and it promotes the read replica to a read write server. Along with this, we'll basically have a quick demo on how the replication actually works, or I would say replication in action. So in the source server, we'll go to databases. I'll quickly create one dummy database and see whether it gets replicated into the replica server. So I've saved the database here. Now I'll look at the replica server and I hope to see the database created here. So if you see here, we have the dummy database which has come in. So replication is as simple as what you see on the screen. Well,
Awesome.
this is basic demo for the replication, and if you intend to, or if you wish to see a detailed demo on data in replication and data out replication, then you might have to refer to the previous webinar where we have covered the live demo. Other than that, we also have the Azure Database Flexible Server demo and beginner series and advanced series, where we will have step-by-step configuration guide for data in and data out replication as well. That's all from my side, Shreya.
Thanks so much, Vandana. We did have a couple of questions from Galver. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this name wrong, Galver, but I think Sudhish has answered them. It was mostly about when is multi-region read replicas going to be available in flexible server. I think that's a reference from, he was using single server earlier and that was there as a feature. Do you want to talk more about that, Vandana?
Yes, definitely. That's definitely on our roadmap, and we will have it in Q2 very soon. And yeah, so that's something we are working on. But right now, you'll have the support for paired region read replica, and in Q2, we'll plan to have the universal region read replica as well coming into a product.
Awesome. Thanks, Vandana. And the other question was if the replication can be paused. And also, same with data in replication as well. So I think Sudhish was answering that as well. But yeah, do you want to talk more about that, about pausing the replication at that point?
Yes, you can pause replication at any point in time, and you can also resume replication in a standard series of steps. So it's not a problem.
Yeah, I think data in replication can definitely be paused. So thanks so much, Vandana, for that. I think there are a couple of other questions which are being answered on the chat. There's another question from VLV Prasad. We will address that towards the end of the session. But thanks so much, Vandana, for coming on the show. So many exciting replication features coming in the next couple of months. So I guess we'll have to stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Glad to be part of the monthly webinar. Thank you both.
So, Avnish, moving on to our final section, can you give us a brief overview of all the new feature updates that have been released in the last month and what's coming up in the next couple of months?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a lot going on right now. So just to talk about some of the new features. One of the new features we recently launched is Learning Center on Azure portal. So it's been GA'd now, and you can leverage this feature in your Azure portal. And just a quick demo. Here we have the separate blade for the Learning Center. And in the Learning Center, we have the documentation you can access. You have different blogs, YouTube channel, as well as any feedback you might have to provide. So here you can see all the different articles, blogs, and the videos we have done over the time. Same is true for the new features as well as different core concepts on high availability, replications, and so forth. And finally, a separate section for the developers community. If you want to migrate your on-premise or MySQL from different cloud providers, you can. We have links here as well. So it's a one section where you can get all the information about Azure Database for MySQL.
If you're a fresher who's wanting to ramp up on this is the perfect place on the portal itself for you to find all the information in one place and in a structured learning path. So do give it a shot.
And if you have any feedback, you can always use this feedback to provide any feedback, any suggestions you may have. The second feature we will, which is a private link or private endpoint. It's in private preview today. And if you want to enroll your customers, there would be a link which you can use to reach out to us. We plan to have it in public preview in Q2 next quarter. And private link is the same feature which is available in single server. So with this, it's also available on flexible server now. And you can basically leverage the same network topology you have on single server on flexible server with this feature. And in the upcoming webinar, we will do deep dive on the private link and demo as well. The second feature, as Vandana mentioned, is the data and replication GTID based replication. It's in private preview today, and we plan to have it GA in later this quarter. The fourth feature is the data and replication on high available on HA enabled servers. So today, if you want to do data and replication from your on-premise MySQL to Azure MySQL, it requires you to disable the HA. And once you are done with the migration, you can enable the HA back. But with this upcoming feature, which is in private preview today, and we plan to GA in later this quarter. You can do the data and replication on HA-enabled servers, whether it's same zone or multi-zone. The other feature which is in private preview is cross-region read replica in paired regions. So for each Azure region, we have a designated paired regions, and now we support the read replica in the paired regions. Again, it's in private preview, and we plan to GA later this quarter. So all the features we are discussing would be GA later this quarter. Another feature which is very exciting, and Sid did the deep dive as well as the demo on auto scale IOPS. It's in public preview. You are welcome to start using it. And again, we plan to GA this later this quarter. Finally, our other feature we are targeting is the Power Apps connector. So with the Power Apps connector, you can use Azure Database for MySQL for your no-code, zero-code application using Power Apps. And we are planning to have the public preview later this month, and GA sometime coming soon. And the other most awaited feature is the cross-region universal read replica, the read replica across non-paired regions. We are planning to have the private preview and GA sometime in Q2 2023, so next quarter. So these are some of the upcoming features we plan to have. Sharia, any questions regarding these new features?
No questions regarding this. I think most of them are, most of the features, especially the read replica features, are most, asked for. I see a couple of comments in the chat window, and I know many of them have reached out earlier as well regarding that. So do take a note. And if you need any, if you need to check, if you want to try out any of those features that we mentioned, which were in private preview, do write to us on Ask Azure DB MySQL at service.microsoft.com. But team, that's about all we had for today. So to learn more, you can navigate to aka.ms MySQL resources, which is our one-stop shop for all resources, or check out our documentation and blog site. If you have any further questions, you can reach us on our email ID. I did see a couple of questions on the chat window, which were about, is MySQL for best for freshers? It definitely is. It's especially if you are trying to build, web applications really quickly, and you want to you want a database which is internet scalable. It's one of the best things that you can use. You can try out, I don't know your use cases, Prasad, but if you want to say whip up a blog site, then you can try out our WordPress marketplace item, which actually connects with MySQL at the backend, and you can get started right away. We also do have a free trial for Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server with an Azure free account, so you can go ahead and check that as well. Which basically it's you can check it out at aka.ms try MySQL free. But yeah, that's about it for now. If you have any more, if you want to learn more about MySQL, stay tuned for updates and announcements by following us on social media, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our handle on YouTube and Twitter is at Azure DB MySQL. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this session. We would love to hear your feedback on the session. So here is a link to the feedback form. And most importantly, if you have any requests or suggestions on what we should be covering in upcoming sessions, or if you want to appear on the show with us, please do fill out this form and let us know. For all the remaining questions on the chat window, we will keep addressing them as we go. But see you all in the next session next month on 8th March, which coincidentally also falls on International Women's Day at 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.